welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Sojka.
Hello, Richard.
Stefan.
I can't believe I'm actually here at the Canterbury Hurlston Park RSL Club in the quarantine holding dock about to go into the tank.
We are. In a little while, we'll be recording the Think Tank. Great to see you here in our favourite club down the end of the street, as we like to say.
I know, they even let me in as well, which is amazing.
I think that was a mistake, but never mind. This is episode number 175 of the Skeptic Zone for the 25th of February 2012.
Oh, the last year of existence ever.
Make the most of it.
No, we certainly are.
we are. In fact, the other members of the Skeptic Zone are gathering as we speak.
They are. There is a gathering,
including Maynard. Hi, Maynard.
Hi, it's great to be here. If anyone's wondering, gee, Maynard, what do you do when you're not doing the Skeptic Zone? Check out the Mr. and Ms. Leather Australia competition, which I co-hosted last Sunday night at the Oxford Hotel. It's not for the squeamish, but I was there in my Hunter S. Thompson outfit, so when I'm not at the Skeptic Zone, that's kind of how I spend my time.
That would have been awesome.
Right.
It was pretty good, but look, I tell you what's coming up on this show is a bit wilder than what I saw last Sunday night, let me tell you, folks.
So what is coming up on the show, Richard?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Stefan. I'm glad you asked. In fact, we'll kick off the show. We have Maynard and Eran Segev. Oh. And they're talking about Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat. That's not the one where you put the peanut butter toast, strap it to the back, and it keeps spinning, is it? Is that
the butter and the cat?
Yeah.
I don't think so. It's to do with a dead cat in a box.
Oh, the dead cat in the box. That's right. Yes.
Find out more
when
Eran interviews... when Maynard interviews Eran.
Well, basically, we did something on the Dirty Disbelievers, which we got... Our astrology friend got it wrong, and we got it wrong, and Eran rang me up, and anyway, hilarity ensured.
Time to revisit.
And after that, the rest of the show is devoted to what promises to be a very interesting think tank, because the whole gang are here. The whole Skeptic, the local Skeptic Zone crew, not our overseas correspondents, Penny Chan and Travis Roy, but everybody else in the Skeptic Zone is in the same room at the same time.
It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big thing.
So that's yourself, Maynard, Dr. Rachie, Joe Benhamu, and Eran Segev, and myself. We're going to be talking about celebrities. We're going to be talking about friends of science and medicine, Potholer 54 and his wonderful YouTube videos, and the Australian Vaccination Network. It's all happening.
I think we should just get straight on with it, because it is going to be a very huge show.
Yeah, I've got a photo of a nude nun I want to show you from last Sunday, so you better run the show while we have a look at this.
We'll look at your photographs of the nude nun, Maynard, and while we run to the bar and have another drink, we'll let everybody enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
The New South Wales Supreme Court has ruled it's not within the jurisdiction of the Healthcare Complaints Commission to issue public warnings against a prominent anti-vaccination group. In July 2010, the HCCC issued a warning that the Australian Vaccination Network provided inaccurate and misleading information against vaccination. It also accused the network of selectively quoting research out of context. The network took the HCCC to the Supreme Court to challenge the public warning. Today's decision said nothing about the accuracy of the information on the network's website. The court did not overturn the New South Wales government's decision to cancel the Vaccination Network's charity status.
Well, folks, as you probably know by now, in the case of the Australian Vaccination Network versus the HCCC, the judgment was for the Australian Vaccination Network. So not a good day for science and reason and medicine today. Sitting with me here in our little post-mortem in a little cafe, we've just come out of the court case, is Peter Ratbags, Bowditch. Peter.
Yes, good morning.
Did
I say good morning?
Good morning.
Good morning in the polite sense rather than good morning in the literal sense.
Not the result I was expecting. I must say, I thought that the case was all about the HCCC having jurisdiction to say these people are providing health care, and the judge didn't see it that way.
It looks like, we won't know until we read the full judgment, which will be available, I presume, on the Supreme Court website later today. It looks like she picked up the fact that the legislation specifically states, it used the word individual. And it looks like she is interpreting the law, the legislation, to mean that you have to be an affected individual before you can make a complaint about a healthcare provider. And the people who made the complaints weren't affected by the words of the Australian Vaccination Network. So what she is saying is that because they had no grounds to make a legal complaint, therefore the HCCC had no grounds on which to do anything about the AVN.
Yeah. It certainly appeared to me as though it was a classic case of a legal technicality.
That's right. But she did say in the discussion on Wednesday that she felt that it was a legislative flaw.
Yeah.
But her job is to treat the law as it stands.
I agree. She couldn't just make up her own laws and say, well, but in this case I think this or that.
She can't.
She had to stick to the letter of the law.
Yeah, so I'll get her actual judgment later today and read it. I would almost bet money on that's what she's saying.
Right. The important message, of course, is that what the Australian Vaccination Network are doing is still wrong, regardless of whatever ruling was made today about jurisdiction about one legal body or another, and that we are not going to stop our fight in letting people know that these people are anti-vax. And
of course not.
Yeah.
But it's yes, we had a case here where it's been said that no action taken by a government department. Of course, there is still the other government department, the Office of Electric Gaming and Racing, who've withdrawn their charity status. Now, I think any idea that because the OLGNR mentioned the HCCC ruling and their warning, I think it was assumed that if this was overturned, that the OLGNR would have to restore their charity status. But my view, what I've seen from the reading of it, is that OLGNR simply added that to the pile. They took action on the basis of accounting for charitable collections wasn't done correctly, and that hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
So
there are more things looming, of course, for the Australian Vaccination Network. Look, it is not, as we said, it's not the result I was expecting personally. But then again, I mean, that's why she's the judge, and I don't know the law, and she does. And we'll leave it at that, because we're all just sort of twittering and going to have a coffee at the moment and think about this more. But Meryl, we're not giving up. Forget about it. It won't happen.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Well, here we get a fair bit of crank mail, and we've got some crank mail right now.
Crank mail, crank mail, crank mail.
From none other than the president of the Australian Skeptics, Eran Segev. How are you, Eran?
I'm very good, Maynard.
You picked a problem with the show Dirty Disbelievers when it was on over January. In fact, you said your email word, we are wrongity wrong, I believe is what you wrote.
Something along those lines, yeah, maybe a few more words.
Choice words, too. Now, what we were looking at was the thought experiment of Schrodinger's cat, and we explained the thought experiment of Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat is a hypothetical experiment in which we put a cat inside a box with some equipment which releases poisonous gas. After, say, an hour, you wouldn't know whether the cat is dead or alive, as this can be known only by looking inside the box. This is based on the assumption of probability and not the fact. Fact comes when we actually see inside the box. Till then, it's all a guess. Confused? So was the cat.
We got it wrong. What did we get wrong?
Well, it was referred to as being not knowing until we observe kind of experiment. But of course, not knowing what the truth is until you actually observe it is sort of a truism. You know, it's true, but it's not such a revelation, and it's definitely not what Schrodinger's cat's thought experiment was meant to show. So, because the quantum state of the atom is not known, we don't know whether the cat is dead or alive. So that's basically the essence of Schrodinger's cat thought experiment. But I would maybe like to say a few words about the whole idea of what it means when we don't know about the quantum state of the atom.
You think that New Age people sometimes misinterpret the whole state of quantum knowing and not knowing?
Absolutely, and maybe I could say a few words about, first of all, quantum mechanics is very complex. Richard Feynman, Nobel laureate for his contributions to quantum mechanics, once said, "I think I can safely say that nobody understands quantum mechanics." He didn't mean that we don't know how it works or that we don't know that it works, because we definitely do. It's just that he meant it understand in the everyday sense of understanding, as in feeling that we know what's happening, in a sense a bit like knowing why. We do understand why an apple falls down from a tree and doesn't fall away at an angle.
So what he was saying is it's not intuitive.
Basically what he was saying was basic intuition was not designed to take care of these things. So you see, the thing is, we evolved to deal with the scales at our middle world, middle size. We're not too small, not too large, not too slow, not too fast, but we're not equipped to deal with those situations where things are very different. It's not just about quantum mechanics, for example, in relativity, when it deals with situations where things travel very, very fast, very close to the speed of light. And really weird things happen then. Things grow larger and they grow heavier, and there's all kinds of things that happen. We don't understand it. It seems counterintuitive because we do not travel close to the speed of light. And it's the same thing with quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics deals with scales of up to a few atoms and all the way down to subatomic particles, while classical mechanics deals with objects that are much larger, humans and planets and all of those things.
How does us knowing or not knowing, is that different from opening the box and looking?
I want to explain what's weird about quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is a probabilistic world. I'll give you an analogy. Let's say that your car has a certain probability of being blue and another probability of being red. We can't be sure until we measure the color of your car, and measure is the word that scientists use to indicate a careful observation. So we can't know. That doesn't sound so weird. The thing that's weird about quantum mechanics is that not only can we not be sure until we observe, there is actually not a specific color until we observe. In a sense, you could say that the car is both blue and red until we observe. So until we observe, there is only a probability of the car being red and a probability of the car being blue, but there isn't actually a specific color.
Eran, this would then directly almost play into most New Age theory that the future can be predicted, and there is. Yeah, so this sounds exactly like that. This makes a lot of things possible in the New Age world.
That's actually what Schrödinger was trying to show, because the problem is with the concept of observation. What does observation actually mean? Does the observer need to be conscious, for example? Does it need to be a human that understands what's going on? Or can it be a cat? Or can it be a rock? New Age people, for example, very often refer to quantum mechanics and they argue that we create our own reality. But the problem with that is that it implies some ability to control the outcome or some conscious awareness of the subatomic level. But that's nonsense. That's completely wrong.
That would be one of the theories espoused in What the Bleep Do We Know? And I think Drew Barrymore spends a lot of time every morning imagining what her day is going to be like. I think her future is actually probably more influenced by the fact that she's the goddaughter of Steven Spielberg.
It's probably true.
That would have a greater effect on her future than what she thinks in the morning.
Absolutely. But you see, what Schrödinger was trying to show was basically that we know that the cat is either dead or alive and not in some in-between state. He actually says it in the paper where he wrote it. He actually says the cat isn't in an in-between state. But if we take quantum mechanics to the extreme, then we could say that it is. What he was basically trying to show is that there is a problem about where does the micro scale, the small scale at which quantum mechanics applies, end, and the macro scale at which we can call an observer end, and therefore if the cat interacts with the quantum level, then the cat will actually be dead or alive. The cat will be the observer. The cat will be that observer that actually changes the atom from being in both states at the same time. By the way, the word for that is superposition. It will change it from being in a superposition of two different states to the one state.
Basically, what we were saying that was incorrect was what?
You were probably misrepresenting or misunderstanding the essence of the experiment. It was not to show that we can't know until we tell. It was all about the difference between the state of superposition that exists at the quantum level and the state of of specific situations, specific knowing that exists at the macro level.
So where is a good place to go and read up on this? Now, I would suggest that Wikipedia would not be the place to go because it's far too condensed and a little bit confusing because of it being condensed. Where is a good place to go to learn more about this superposition and things like that?
Give you a website where I found information that I thought was very useful. It was easy to read, and the website is www.mtnmath, without an S at the end, .com/cat.html.
We won't even get started on string theory, will we?
No, I don't think we should.
President of the Australian Skeptics and a guy who knows what he's talking about and isn't scared to let you know.
Thank you, Maynard.
I'm Eugenie Scott, Executive Director of the National Center for Science Education in Oakland, California. We defend and support the teaching of evolution and climate change when it comes under attack for religious and political reasons. We help teachers, parents, school boards, and other citizens defend good science in the schools. Come visit us at ncsc.com and on YouTube and Facebook, and let us know if science comes under attack in your community. We're here to help.
Join us now for Drinking Skeptically in the Think Tank.
I think that one of the things that has taken my attention today, folks, as we start this think tank, is there is another tank in this very room. If we look over there, and it's a tank full of...
Noms.
Lobsters, folks. Yes, in our think tank here at our favourite club down the end of the street in the Chinese restaurant, there is now a giant tank full of giant lobsters ready to go. I think next time we'll have to order some. Dr. Rachie.
I know, don't they look... Well, actually, I feel a bit sorry for them. Maybe we should just nom them and put them out of their misery.
Well, they look a little bit like you'd have a conversation with them, so I don't know that you'd really want to nom them.
What do you mean, have a conversation with them?
It's like the Hitchhiker's Guide. Let's meet the meat. And it's good to see you meeting us here, Joe Benhamu.
Hi, Richard. Nice to be back.
Thank you. And a welcome side of... indeed, tonight is the happy smiling face of, yes, Maynard.
Hello, everybody, and I want to thank on behalf of myself and you and Dr. Rachie and Jay Katz, everyone who tuned into the Disbelievers, downloaded it, and gave us support to the ABC. It's got us absolutely nowhere, but the show hasn't been renewed or anything, but you never know.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Look, it was great fun, and if anyone has any power with the ABC, we'd love it. We'd love to do that show all the time.
It was a real pleasure to go into the studios.
And, and 2 out of the 3 weeks we got studios to work in and everything, and we only got kicked out the once. And it just goes to show what you can do when someone accidentally puts a tick next to your name.
I quite like that last studio we ended up in. It was very cosy.
It was a sports studio. But I must thank everyone at the ABC for helping us out with that, and our inside man who was great for the whole thing. Yeah, it was really good. And thank you everyone for listening and tuning in.
It's always good to have somebody on the inside.
What was that producer?
The Scottish guy.
Yeah, thank you, Scottish producer.
Thank you, Scottish producer, otherwise known as the man behind the curtain.
He was.
Pay no attention to him.
He was. It's not a bus announcement.
You have the chance to win $8,888.
No, it's somebody who's won the chance to win some money.
They're having a raffle or something here, folks. Eran Segev, hello.
Hello, Richard.
Back again, and it's not us who are winning the $8,888 tonight.
No, it wasn't. We were losing roughly that amount.
I think we are. And never a loser, it's Stefan Sojka.
Oh, Richard, it's great to be here for a change in the think tank. And I was thinking, speaking of that other tank there, I was actually wondering if those lobsters are intelligent enough to appreciate that even though their fate is sealed, while they're waiting in that tank there, it's a lot of stress-free life compared to life in the wild. Because when they're out in the wild, there's lots of predators and stuff. So they should actually be quite chilled and relaxed there, awaiting their fate. Because obviously when it comes, it's all over for them. But right now, They should be very cool.
Stefan, here they can see all their predators. In the nature, it looks like there are no predators.
They'd be highly stressed.
Yeah.
They're looking happy enough to look. There they are. They're moving around now. Look, they've heard us. Look at that.
They are intelligent.
I think they're trying to escape. Happy lobsters. Well, we'll be happily eating those lobsters maybe in a couple of weeks, I don't know. A lot to get through on tonight's think tank. Now, the strange thing is, of course, we are recording this on a Thursday evening.
Not just any Thursday evening, it's International Howard Jones Day. It's his birthday today. Yes, the man who recorded What Is Love, Things Can Only Get Better, and Like to Get You Know You Well, and is often confused with Nick Kershaw. It's his birthday today. And that's probably the last you'll hear from me in the think tank tonight. Good evening.
Do you know an interesting fact about that, Maynard? No. He's played here. I've seen him play here.
At this venue?
At this venue,
He's played this venue. I came and saw him here about 2 years ago.
It's and bringing up the subject of Thursday is that we're recording this on a Thursday night, and tomorrow morning, Friday morning, the decision gets handed down in the court case, the Australian Vaccination Network versus the HCCC, Dr. Rachie.
Yeah, this has been going on for a while. This resulted because the HCCC in July 2010 issued a public health warning about the AVN. Because they investigated their website for over 12 months and determined that their information was misleading. They cherry-picked research to make vaccines look bad, and they were purely providing anti-vaccination information. Now, the AVN obviously weren't happy with this, so they challenged this decision in the Supreme Court, and the case has been going on now for over 6 months, maybe 8 months, a long time. The final hearing was on Wednesday, yesterday, where it's now come down to semantics. It was the barristers arguing for 3.5 to 4 hours about the definition of the term "it" in Section 7B of the Public Health Act of 1993, where it states something along the lines of, the clause is something about the information must demonstrate that it has harmed somebody or caused harm to it, right? So how do you interpret it? Is it a person in particular, like an individual person? Is it the public? Is it an organisation? So essentially the judge was saying to the barrister for the HCCC, you need to demonstrate that this information has influenced it, whether that be one person's decision to not vaccinate or a bunch of people's decisions. So it was 3.5 hours of semantics about the meaning of the term "it." I guess it's like, was it Clinton? When they said,
right.
Did you...
And in fact, it was the same word they argued about there. It was the meaning of "it." Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what it was yesterday.
Either "it" or "is." It was one word.
I think it was "is" with Clinton. So anyway, the judge who was presiding yesterday is a new judge in the Supreme Court. She's only just recently been appointed.
Not the judge. You say she, so that's not the same judge that was there the first time.
Not the same judge. This is a brand new judge who only came in on Wednesday. So the decision will be handed down tomorrow morning. But I wasn't there, but I have information from people who were. One of the things that was interesting is that she picked up on the whole idea that the AVN pushed...
She being the judge. Right?
She being the judge. Yeah. That the AVN pushed that they're pro-choice, not anti-vaccine. And she mentioned 3 times that they sell a T-shirt called "Love Them, Protect Them, Never Inject Them." And at one point she actually said in court, the judge said, "Why are you so coy or shy about being upfront about what you do?"
Yeah.
Basically saying, how come you don't want to admit that you're anti-vaccine?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with that? So she picked up on that quite a few times. One of the funniest things that happened was that during closing, the barrister for the AVN asked if Merrill's testimony could be struck from the record.
Yeah, I read that.
If it could be determined to be inadmissible. And the judge just laughed and said no. Because one of the things that's happened throughout the course of these hearings is that Merrill the reason that they originally went into this case was because Merrill deemed that they were not a healthcare provider.
Yes.
And she said, therefore, the HCCC does not have jurisdiction over us. They can't make any laws about us, right? When she was in court under oath, she admitted she was a healthcare provider.
That was in the first one. That's the one that I attended. She admitted that. it very quickly, the first time around, was it now almost close to 6 months ago, they started talking about some technicalities, like this Section 7B or whatever, and under whether the way the complaint was dealt with was appropriate. It was nothing to do with being a healthcare provider or with being pro-choice or anti-vax. It was always, right from the beginning, about legal technicalities.
Yeah, well, I think that maybe is why her barrister asked for her evidence to be struck from the record, because she has said some stuff that has really put herself in the shit, as you like to say in Australia. But the judge didn't allow that. The judge said, no, that will not happen. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning is when the decision will be passed down. It's very difficult to know at this point which way it could go. I guess by the time this podcast goes out, everyone will know.
The strange thing is, of course, at the top of the show, near the beginning of today's show, we know. We know, we will know one way or the other.
We'll know tomorrow morning, yeah.
But as recording, we don't.
However, it is scheduled for tomorrow morning, but also things do get bumped from the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So at this stage, it's going ahead, but it depends.
10
so
o'clock.
yeah.
What was that? That was the lobsters trying to escape, I think.
I think it was. So
vaccination as a thing will just disappear off the planet. No one will ever have to be vaccinated ever again. Won't that?
Next step is fluoride in the water, and then sunblock. You know, these people are also the people who rail against sunblock say it's poison that we're putting on our skin and everything.
We got to put turn our water pipes back into lead. I think that was.
There was actually something put out by the Cancer Council recently, which said that they were concerned that it was to do with people's fear of nanoparticles in sunscreen, and the Cancer Council are genuinely concerned that some of those that scaremongering is actually gaining traction, that there are more and more people who are concerned about the health effects of nanoparticles in sunscreen and are not using sunscreen as a result or trying other things. And the Cancer Council actually, felt that it was something that was actually worth looking into and putting the message out there that the risks, the small risks, which at this point they don't even know are there, are outweighed by the benefits of wearing sunscreen.
It's a pretty big no-brainer, isn't it? No-brainer.
I mean, they're not exactly like nanobots that go tunneling through your flesh,
Yes, they are. They get into your motor neurons and make you walk like a zombie.
And dig them with the little mini shovels.
It's like Bender in Futurama. Did you see the one where he makes little clones of himself, right down to microscopic? But you know who uses sunscreens, Joe? And wait to hear this segue. Celebrities like using sunscreens. And speaking of celebrities...
And spray tans and goodness knows what else. A lot of people who read Respectful Insolence, the wonderful blog by Aurak, might have seen the post over the last couple of days about Mayim Bialik, the actress who plays Amy Farrah Fowler on Big Bang Theory. And the actress... Mayim Bialik, actually has a PhD in neuroscience. And it turns out that despite this scientific background, she's heavily into alternative treatments and goodness knows what. She's involved with an organisation called the Holistic Moms Network. And some of the people who are on the board of this organisation include Barbara Loe Fisher and a lot of prominent names from, anti-vax groups and all sorts of woo. Now, aside from the fact that I was, a little bit irked by this, I really enjoyed the show, and I kind of, knowing a bit about her background in science, I thought it was quite inspiring that this actress who was in the show also had a science background, and that was a great thing. So to find out that, in fact, she's incredibly into all sorts of weird and wonderful things. She's actually, I read an article where she was quoted as saying that they are a non-vaccinating family. She's got a number of children. It got me thinking not so much about her specifically, but just generally about celebrities and their weird beliefs. And at what point do we... How do we respond to these things as, people who enjoy movies and music and so on, when a celebrity who we admire in one way or another and we find out that they have let us down in some way with their beliefs, what do we do about that? Because, Tom Cruise, for example, I can't watch a movie that the man is in because he irks me so much. But is it really worth the silent protest of not paying the money to see a Tom Cruise movie to give myself the personal satisfaction of knowing, yes, it is. Absolutely. Thank you, Eran.
I need to watch a movie with Jim Carrey ever again.
I can't.
I dare you to watch a porno with Jenny McCarthy again.
She never did it, but she only did the unofficial ones, and they're good.
So,
what about The Simpsons? Do you watch The Simpsons?
I love The Simpsons.
Well, Nancy Cartwright.
Absolutely, I know. And when I found that out again, it irked me. Now, I wondered what you all thought about those sort of little protests. Are those little protests worthwhile? Is it really worth the effort to kind of make those silent protests? Or, when it comes to something like Jenny McCarthy and the vaccination issue, that's something that we can really get our teeth into because we're dealing with the bigger issue. Yeah. And when you've got some celebrity who just happens to use a particular, who practices Kabbalah or something like that, when do we make the protest?
Well, when does it start impinging on your enjoyment?
Esther's CDs. Esther. Don't you know who Esther is?
No.
That's Madonna's Hebrew name.
Are you telling us you bought them before?
Yeah, I thought it was like, I thought you said Ethel, like Ethel Merman. I thought, no, after that disco album of hers, I never bought another one.
Madonna's Hebrew name, because she's a Kabbalist, Madonna's Hebrew name is Esther. And not only, actually, speaking of Hebrew names, Maim Bialik. Maim Bialik is a Hebrew name, and Maim means water, but it's not a common name. It's a little bit like a woman named Storm. So, yeah, you can tell that there would be woo there.
In a way, they're kind of doing the world a service by demystifying celebrity, by being so silly in those sort of ways. They're actually taking themselves down a few pegs, because really, celebrities are held up so much, but all they are is they're just very good at memorising lines and repeating them with some kind of expression and some kind of sound while the camera's running. And
they're just people who have jobs, and those jobs happen to make
memorising lines
and making them famous, right?
But actually, that's not just the case, because Sense About Science, which is the UK charity that most people have heard of, every year they do a celebrity. They do a survey of celebrities that have said stupid stuff during the year, and just this year they've introduced celebrities that have done good stuff for science. So. Last year they called out Julia Sawala, who plays Safi on Absolutely Fabulous, because she only uses homeopathy when she goes to malaria epidemic countries.
I'm not going to enjoy Jonathan Creek.
And even Joanna Lumley, who plays Patsy on AbFab, she believes that cancer is caused by all the hormones and chemicals in food, and that before we were putting antibiotics into cows and chickens, we weren't getting cancer. But in fact, before we were doing that, we were dying younger because medicine hadn't advanced so far.
No, the thing is, before we were putting hormones in chickens and cows, she wasn't getting cancer.
Right. Well, the point is, though, that, Sense About Science make this point, that once a celebrity says something, like Gwyneth Paltrow, who endorses detox, immediately it spreads. It's onto the internet, it's into the women's mags, it's just viral. You can never take it out of the people's minds. It's at the forefront of their minds. So to try and counteract that, they've started doing a list of celebrities that have done good things to promote science. And this year, actually, it was really good because the top of the list was Amanda Peet. Now, Amanda Peet's not very well known to many people, but she is very good for positive campaigning about vaccination. So she does try to counteract what Jenny McCarthy does.
To a paediatrician.
Yes, she is, yeah.
But it's a good point, Joe. You've raised a really interesting point, and I'm sure it's one our listeners can have a think about. At what stage do you stop enjoying whatever because the celebrity pushes this or that cause?
I think it's also that there comes a time as a skeptic where you have to be somewhat selective about where you put your energies, and sometimes walking down the street and stopping at every store which is promoting God knows what. You get to that point. Exactly, and you get to the point where you really have to filter it out.
You keep walking, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But I think the issue you raised, Rach, about the way that this stuff does filter through into the women's mags, it's absolutely pervasive, and it's sold to women as because these celebrities are using it, therefore, it's the next thing that they should be looking at, and you can do this too, and how can you do it cheaper and better, and and so on. But I thought just particularly in terms of activism and protest and so on, just thinking about where you invest your energies with those things is important.
It's a very good point, and I know that Maynard has been responsible for promoting many things over the years as a celebrity.
That's right. I've seen karaoke VHS tapes, things like that. Nothing that will cause a lot of harm, except, if you sing. It's interesting. I think you can't stop at every store, but if there is a personal little protest you can do that makes you feel better, that's good. I mean, I haven't seen a Tom Cruise movie since Minority Report, and I feel better for that. My life is enriched. Every time I think of going to see a Tom Cruise movie, I remember Far and Away, which is far and away one of the worst films ever made. It's certainly no BMX Bandits or Starstruck. It's certainly not on that league, or it's not even in The Big Bus. By the way, The Big Bus, best movie ever made. The Big Bus.
Is it like The Short Bus?
The Big Bus is almost a pre-runner to a movie like Flying High. It's a lot slower and not as punchy, but you can see where you would have seen The Big Bus and gone, we should make Flying High. It's about an atomic-powered bus that goes across America and it gets sabotaged.
The big Flying High, by the way, would be known to most of our listeners as Airplane.
That's right, because Americans don't like provocative titles. Like In Bed with Madonna in Australia was called something something really vanilla in America. Yeah, In Bed with Madonna everywhere in the world except where Madonna lived.
And even the Harry Potter, it was the first one. Instead of Philosopher's Stone, it was changed to the Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh, yeah. Maynard, I've got a bit of a bone to pick with you because I actually I was listening to Dirty Disbelievers, and you mentioned a movie called Phase 4.
Series. Oh, hang on, Phase 4. That's where the ants take over the world.
Yeah.
And Saunders here didn't believe it. He was poo-pooing it.
Now, while I was listening to the show, I actually went on iTunes and bought it for about like $30 because I took your recommendation because you were hyping it up so much. I went and bought the thing and I watched it. That was the worst movie I've ever seen ever.
Look, rarely do I recommend piracy, but in the case of that, I would have downloaded it, man. I mean, $30 to find out whether you like a movie about ants taking over the world.
And get this, now I can't delete it because it's a purchase. Apple wants me to have it forever. I cannot delete it.
But come on, there must have been some funny moments in it.
It was very, very good. Yeah,
particularly where the ants get inside the brain and they talk to each other. We are controlling this person's brain.
I'm going to see it. I'm going to come around and visit. I'll come around and see it. Now, the next topic on my list in front of me now is to talk about the group here in Australia, Friends of Science in Medicine. Dr. Rachie.
Oh, yeah, well, Friends of Science in Medicine, otherwise known as FSM, was set up in Australia only late last year, actually, and they've made a huge impact. It's been amazing. Basically, the idea behind FSM was to gather together academics and also just concerned citizens who were concerned about the infiltration of pseudoscience into universities. So, in particular, the teaching or credulous teaching of CAMs. And the idea is to examine universities and look at their courses and find areas where perhaps they're teaching stuff that would be considered, sorcery, I suppose, or
off the deep end stuff.
Yeah, like homeopathy or iridology, or stuff for which we know there's no evidence for. And really, all that's happened is about 400 people have signed up to a list that's not even public, not even published yet. And the amount of publicity that we've been getting, I'm on the list, full disclosure, I'm on the list, has been absolutely massive, even to the point of the New York Times has featured stories on us. There was a big article in the British Medical Journal just a week ago. There's been numerous articles on the website called The Conversation, which is the academic website here in Australia. Lots and lots of articles in the press. There was a big hoo-ha recently because there was an article in Fairfax, which is our it's not Murdoch, is it? No. It's the non-Murdoch press. And there was a poll published as part of this article, and at first it was just people were voting and it seemed to be quite normal, and then all of a sudden it seemed to be heading towards the people voting much more towards the yes option. It turned out a couple of days later there was another article published where the tech guys at Fairfax had noticed that all of a sudden this poll was getting slammed with votes, and there were about 8 times more votes on the poll than people had actually read the page. So it became apparent that it was being being botted. And then someone found an email from a guy who's the head of the Complementary Healthcare Council, who'd emailed a whole lot of people and said, we want to engineer a gap on this poll so that we don't give any credibility to the FSM people, because if we can make it go in our favour, that's better for us. Yeah. Now, this fell into the hands of the newspaper, who then wrote an article saying this poll has been gamed and hijacked by the alt-med people, because they sent around an email saying, everyone please go and crash this poll. So it ended up having over 850,000 votes by the end of the voting period.
That's probably the most votes Fairfax have ever had on a poll.
But I tell you, there's one final thing about this that was so funny, because the second article where they exposed that it had been botted by the CAM people,
which was also how bad polls are.
Yeah, which was how bad, you can't actually trust polls, and it was a whole story about, well, people trust online polls, but this brings it all into question. And it's as if anyone had anyway. And in that article, they had a poll, which said, do you think you can trust online polls? And guess what happened to that poll? That poll was meant to be open for 5 days. After 1 day, it had 890,000 votes in favour of yes, you should take online polls seriously. It was 95%, 5%, they shut it down.
That is more votes than the poll should Rihanna get back together with Chris Brown.
I'm shocked to hear that.
I think, Eran, you just wanted to add something about the origins of FSM, because I think it's important.
Yes, I think it's important to point out that obviously we share a lot of the ideas and thoughts with the Friends of Science and Medicine, but they also started because, or very much based on a couple of articles, a 2-part series of articles written in the Skeptic magazine. They were written by Tim with a huge amount of assistance from Joe, and these articles were about the quackery at universities. Yeah. And the guys from the Friends of Science and Medicine, particularly Loretta, who's the CEO of the organization, they read this, they got really upset. At the same time, there was the whole issue with chiropractic and RMIT. The guy who managed chiropractic at RMIT moved to the University of Central Queensland. There was all of that happening at the same time. And obviously, that created the momentum. And then Loretta and 5 professors started the organization. Many from our organization were some of the first to sign up to become signatories to the organization or members of the organization. And the Australian Skeptics as an organization is also a member. So, of course, we have very close links with them. And we wish them every success. And so far they've been doing amazing work in pressing the universities to stop this nonsense and not teach things that are not supported by evidence. There was actually something really great. The university, I think it was Charles Sturt? One of the universities, I don't remember which university. On their quackery page, there was the page where they were advertising or promoting their complementary modalities courses. They said that this, basically they put a disclaimer that said we do not actually teach those non-evidence-based modalities. What this course is a course for people who already practice those modalities, so they learn about the science. It's kind of to enrich them about the science and to understand how to better investigate what evidence there is. I don't know whether it's true or not, but the fact that the university felt compelled to do that is a really, really good sign. And I hope that they continue to do well.
There's certainly people feeling a lot of pressure, and a lot of people are very threatened by this group, the Friends of Science and Medicine.
I've got to say, I've been involved in this discussion for a long time. And, in fact, if anyone's interested, go to the conversation.com.au and look for an article called What CAM Courses Should Look Like in Universities. It's just been published, so it should be on the homepage. It's a really, really good summary and overview of really what we're about and what we're trying to achieve. And it's not, as some people are interpreting it, apply a flamethrower to CAM and unis. That's absolutely not what we're about. We're about looking at each modality at face value and working out whether it's justified to keep it in universities. So that means homeopathy gone, supplementary, yeah, I'm afraid so. Supplements and herbal medicine, no, of course.
1, 2, 3 gut flush.
The thing is, though, that what's really sort of irritating me about it is that it's almost a deliberate changing of FSM's argument or distortion of it to make it look like what's being said is get rid of it. We don't want to know. We don't even want to look into it. And it's really sort of misleading the public as to what the aims of FSM are.
I agree, but I don't think people are able to understand that, Joey, because the article that's on the conversation now, the one about what CAM courses should look like, really clearly explains that it's not about throwing out everything. Yet you read the comments and there's still comments from people going, you want to throw out herbs, but what about St John's wort and what about aspirin? It came from a tree. And if you read the article, it's absolutely not what he's saying. So it's this cognitive dissonance, I think, that people have.
Well, it suits the other side to paint us like that.
And also, you must remember that the people who are making those comments, they're high on homeopathy anyway, so you've kind of...
Because CAM, I think, is seen to them as an umbrella thing, whereas we are trained to look at evidence and... case by case, on face value, yeah, but they can't seem to do that. And someone made this observation recently, and I think it's really true, is that even if a modality, a CAM modality, is proven not to work, they cling to it even tighter, you know? That they're unable to dissociate from dogma. It doesn't seem at all. So, but it's a really interesting argument.
And conspiracy theories come in, you know.
They're big pharma shit.
Big pharma shills, yeah.
You know, and the fact that obviously big supplement makes no money, do they? Big homeopathy.
But also, you know, the thing is, Ken Harvey complains about pharmaceutical big pharma almost as often as he complains about alternative medicines. I participated in a hearing, represented a pharmacist together with Ken, in a hearing in which a pharmaceutical got fined $40,000 because of our testimony. We are not afraid to attack big pharma when big pharma falls afoul of what they should be doing.
Let me give you an example of something so ridiculous that you won't believe it, right? I am an editor on a complementary medicine journal called Focus on Alternative and Complementary Therapies. I've published about 5 articles in there, one of which is a review of acupuncture, which came out today. I got accused of being a big pharma shill because that journal is supported by the British Pharmaceutical Association. Well, it's a complementary medicine journal where I write about acupuncture, qigong, tai chi, bio...
but you're a shill for big pharma.
But what's really appalling about that is that if the stuff that you're publishing actually is finding that these modalities don't work, it's therefore saying... It's saying, well, if you're finding that the stuff doesn't work, then you must be supported by big pharma, and therefore you couldn't possibly be doing stuff to support us if you're not saying that it works.
That is making the assumption that they bothered to read my research, Joe, and they didn't. They just saw that it is supported by the British Pharmaceutical
But many people just simply regard you as a big pharma shill.
End of story. But they said because I write for this complementary journal. I mean, how ridiculous!
Dr. Rach, I just have to look at your 7 Series BMW, and I start to get suspicious.
Eran, I just have to say,
I will give you a lift home.
just to clarify what you said before, it is actually Charles Sturt University that have put the disclaimer. But what's interesting is when you actually look at the course content, it is a health sciences degree, and they make it quite explicit that they do not. This disclaimer says that CSU does not teach homeopathy, iridology, reflexology, or any other subjects that are not based on experimental evidence, and it goes on, but you look at what the course covers, and it's pathophysiology and pharmacology, evidence-based complementary medicine. What I'd want to know is, I would love them to actually do some research of the students coming out of these courses to see what they are actually then practicing. Because if they're coming in there, if a naturopath or an acupuncturist or whatever the person is who's doing that course does the course with the aim of them learning better evidence-based practice, they come out of the course, they go out there, and then they're practicing as a naturopath and an acupuncturist. Well, ultimately, if they're using things that the evidence shows doesn't work, then what is the course actually achieving? Is it just propping it up and saying, therefore we've now I've got this degree, so I'm more legitimate, but I'm still going to just keep practicing what I'm practicing.
Their argument for that, I've had a look into this, and their argument is that there are a lot of, they say, and I haven't seen any evidence for this, they say that a lot of people that get into that stream are then offered alternatives to go into medicine, physiology, pharmacy and nursing after that. So they've filtered them in from WU, they put them into this evidence-based 2-year, post-grad course, and then some of them go off and do real science. But I don't know how many that is, and I couldn't find any information about that.
I'd be really interested to know that, because, I mean, I think if it is actually having a positive outcome, if it is actually, churning out students who are thinking more critically and who are actually prepared to look at the way they're practicing these alternative modalities and say, hang on a second, actually the evidence shows this doesn't work, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing that, then that's a good thing. I can live with that. But if they're just coming out the other end and just carrying on...
I couldn't find any evidence for that yet. I'm looking for it, though.
It sounds suspicious to me, like the bad outcome of that would be it's just helping them to sound more credible.
Exactly. That's the point, exactly. That's the point. And that's one of the arguments that we've been having with some alt-med people, is they're saying that you shouldn't take CAM and alt-med out of unis because at least then we know they're getting trained properly, so they'll come out as better at naturopaths than they would have if they came out of the Australian College of Natural Therapies. But where's the evidence for that? Where is it? I don't see it. And the thing is it Southern Cross who had Meryl Dorey teaching vaccination to in a neonatal class?
I'm not sure about that one.
I can't. Something, yes, I remember something.
Meryl Dorey was teaching something at Southern Cross, which I've never been able to find, and I'm still looking for that. So that just because that was taught in a uni doesn't mean you come out any less anti-vaccine if you learnt it in the Blue Mountains in a secret meeting underground, It's
Absolutely.
a ridiculous argument.
Now, one of the major forces in the Friends of Science and Medicine is Professor John Dwyer, Eran. Professor John Dwyer, and he is actually speaking here in Sydney on the 31st of March at an Australian Skeptics dinner meeting.
The first one of 2012, yes, and I'm not sure whether the information is on our website just yet, but if it isn't, then it will be in the next few days.
Yeah. www.skeptics.com.au if you're in Sydney and you want to find out more about Friends of Science in Medicine, come along to our dinner meeting, which is great fun.
It is,
yeah,
always.
We always have a good dinner and interesting speakers. Now, Rachie, a quick shout-out to our friends in Canberra, because you and I have both gone down in the last months to speak in Canberra, our nation's capital.
Yeah.
And you were only there the other day and you had a great time.
I had a great time. The guys in Canberra are so professional, do a fantastic job, bought me wine and dinner. That has nothing to do with what I just said. But they have this fantastic venue.
Is that your shill payment?
That was my shill payment.
You're a shill for Big Wino.
And Big Traino, because they paid for my Traino trip as well. But
and Busso.
They have a great venue. It's the CSIRO Discovery Centre, which is part of ANU. And we had about 80 to 100 people there. I gave a talk about health information on the internet. So it was my Dr. Google talk, but a little bit expanded from what I've done before.
With puppets. You had puppets.
And interpretive dance. Like the ABC Interpretive Bandicoot. You know the one? That first dog on the moon one? Anyway.
We'll over that one.
I don't remember that one.
Canberra Skeptics are doing great stuff. And they have great talks. And
they're doing the convention in
2013. But if anyone is in Canberra, they do Skeptics in the Pub, I think, on is it Sunday afternoons, once a month?
I haven't got that information to hand, but people, please Google Canberra Skeptics.
It's canberraskeptics.org.au, I think. But they're fantastic.
And in fact, I just got a little notification about 2013, the Australian Skeptics National Convention in Canberra, something to do with the 50th anniversary of JFK, Maynard.
Oh, look, again, when is that patsy? When are you going to give that guy a rest? I'll tell you, if Oswald had gone to trial, we wouldn't be here now talking about this.
He did, and I've got the video.
Ah, yes. Well, that's a big shill for Big Wino. I think you'll find that one you've got there, but I will watch that anyway. And anyone who did listen to the Disbelievers, we had a bit of an altercation on the last episode, which would make a good episode 7 if we ever do one.
50 years next year since that day. That's incredible. Now, Eran, a little note here to talk about the TGA and something called Undo It.
Yes, Undo It is another. What should I call it? It's a slimming agent of some sort.
I see. You undo.
You undo it because the idea is that you can you can eat whatever you want and counter it by taking a pill. A pill is worth about $1, and they say that a chocolate biscuit you can counter with 1 pill. A tub of ice cream is 2 pills, and yeah. And
Rachel's doing the miming here for a big tub of ice cream that she's diving into.
Doesn't say how big the tub of ice cream is.
Now, Eran, there's actually a pharmaceutical drug that does this called Xenical that used to be about, that would bind with the fat and pass it out of your body, which was a really bad idea in practice after they started using it. Is it something like the Xenical, the pharmaceutical?
I don't know. I don't know all the claims. I looked at their ad. It was very simplistic. It didn't provide a lot of information. But the point is that if it were, then it would be unsafe and would not be could not be used. I suppose it probably isn't. It's probably another scam. We can't be sure, of course. We don't know all the details. But Ken Harvey complained to the TGA.
How does he have the energy time and time again, and he just gets knocked back?
The TGA did actually respond very positively. It said they took note of his complaint.
Oh, well.
That's very positive.
It is, isn't it?
No, it is, because at least he got a response.
Is that sort of bureaucrat talk for we answered the phone?
Pretty much, yeah. It's what do you mean? Look, they didn't dismiss it completely, but let's say it this way: Ken would have to keep on top of it to make anything happen about it. Now, the good thing about Ken is that he will keep on top of it.
Yes.
He will continue to pressure them, and if this thing continues to be marketed, then eventually something will happen. But it could take a very long time. In the meantime, they'll make a lot of money, and these things eventually they disappear and they dissipate because there's some initial hype about it. Then people take it
just like 1, 2, 3 gut flush.
Oh, that's right. That's taking off big time since our presentation. Yeah, unbelievable.
I think one of the points though that Ken was making, he wrote an article on The Conversation again today about this, was that there was a review of the TGA in the last couple of months, and it involved a huge amount of people that spent a lot of time going through the legislation and working out where changes should be made. And one of the things that they cited as a really important thing that should be changed is that when sponsors are listing a product, they just have an open little box where they can type any claims they like about their product.
Right.
So they can say, this is a magic pill that reverses the norms you just had. They don't need to provide any evidence of that. Now, it was recommended that that should be stopped, that they didn't have the option to put free text in to make up shit, basically. And the government just went, no, that's too hard, we're not going to do that. So all that effort of people going through all this legislation and then potentially tightening up that legislation was just dismissed by the government. So now these people who are making this undo it stuff are going, ha, 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 we'll just make up more shit.
And it's not just people like undo it. It's also real pharmaceuticals. And we had this situation now with the people who sell Nurofen, where they were twice told to stop doing what they were doing, because one time you may remember that they were given the shonky last year,
yes,
because they were selling Nurofen migraine pain and Nurofen period pain, yeah, and all those kind of things. They were all exactly the same,
just like homeopathy.
324 milligrams, I think it was of
425.
It was something. They are all exactly the same formulation, different coloured box and different prices.
Yeah.
And then the TGA actually also, not the CRP, the Complaints Resolution Panel, which is all about advertising, ruled against them because they were advertising Nurofen as being targeting the source of the pain, which is nonsense. It's systematic. It targets the brain. It targets it's nothing to do with targeting the site of the pain.
You take it and it goes, oh, I'm going to go up this arm here into this thumb.
And they have ads that clearly show it as if it is going to the site of the pain.
That's when you get those bender bots to take care of things.
Exactly. Or no.
You know, none of you are getting your shill checks this month.
No, and the thing is, this company got a ruling against it, and they ignored it.
And worse than that, they wrote this facetious little, flippity response going, "We will continue to target our product in this manner."
That's right.
Basically, shove it up your bum. So that was what they wrote.
Yeah, because they know that
there's no consequences.
because they know there are no consequences, and they say if those people who sell homeopathy can do whatever they want, why can't we?
Yeah, basically that's what they said, and they can. So.
That's right. At the moment, we're on their tail. We're on their case. We're on their case. Now, before we wrap up, a big plug to a guy who we all enjoy the videos when he produces videos, Potholer54 on YouTube. Folks, if you're not subscribed to Potholer54, what's stopping you? Please do. His latest video, he often has wonderful things about creationism. Actually, and absolutely,
and he awards the golden crocodile to the winning creationist moron.
Lunacy out there. But he's turned his attention just recently. His latest video is Health, Vaccinations and Junk Science. Really great. And this is going to be the first of the series where he... A bus announcement after all these months. But he's turned his attention...
It's a Volkswagen, it's not a bus. I wish they'd get that right.
Please subscribe to Potholer54. Have a look at his latest video, Health, Vaccinations and Junk Science, a wonderful start of a series, which I'm delighted to say. Good one. His name's Peter Hadfield.
Peter Hadfield.
Yeah. Hadfield. He came and spoke at
a secret identity.
Yeah, well,
no, it's not. No, it's
not.
It's
over. No, it's not secret anymore. He spoke at our last convention, of course.
Yeah.
And before we go,
it's a present
Joe.
to Rachie because I just know she loves new woo.
Yes.
So this is something called ECR. It's energetic cellular release, and it was developed by a very clever naturopath.
This is like gut flush, isn't it?
And the purpose of ECR, is a technique to retrain the cells, organs, and glands of the body to react in a positive manner to stimuli by releasing energetic memories stored in the cells of those tissues.
Wow, sorry.
But what I thought you'd be particularly interested in is, we always talk a lot about, contraindications and, you shouldn't mix medications together that have, interactions and so on. Well, apparently there are some special instructions that need to be taken into account if you have ECR.
Mm.
When coming to a session, it is best that the person not be hungry, too stressed or too fatigued. Also, for 3 hours afterwards, avoid any strenuous exercise or energy balancing techniques such as acupuncture or Reiki.
Avoid that like the plague.
Yeah, that should be a general rule. Avoid acupuncture and Reiki. I thought you'd like that, Miss Rachie. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. What an interesting way to end a think tank. Well, thank you, everybody. It's great. We don't do think tanks too often anymore. We should do them more regularly, I think. I know the fans really enjoy. It's like you're with us, everybody listening out there. It's like you're sitting there. You are at the end of the table, and you're raising your glass.
In fact, we actually just got a tweet from Lucas Randall, organiser of Melbourne Skeptic Camp. He just said hello and wants to wave to us all here. So you're here with us now.
They're recording the Science on Top podcast at the same time as we're recording the think tank.
It's all happening. But Joe, thank you for coming along to the think tank tonight. Great to see you, Dr. Rachie, as ever.
Thank you. I had fun.
And you had some noms too earlier,
and there's some lobsters over there.
Lobsters over there. Maynard.
Look, I had a great time. I just want to remind people that Thomas Dolby recently visited Australia and was interviewed by Tim Ritchie, and that's available as a podcast. Find out what Thomas Dolby's been doing. His song Toad Lickers is a real winner, and he made most of his money if you own a Nokia phone and it's got one of those devices in there where you can make your own ringtone. He invented that. So every Nokia phone sold during the 90s, he would have got a little bit of a royalty on because he was co-inventor of the little synth inside there where you could make your own, was it polyphonic ringtone? Or yeah. Whatever it was that made that ringtone, every Nokia phone he got for a while. Wow. So I'd say he probably made more out of that than he ever made out of music. That's why he has a lifeboat as a studio next to his house on the coast of Wales where he lives, yeah. Mm.
And that's why we have Maynard coming along to the think tank, everybody.
Nothing to do with science, but by God I can drink.
Eran Segev, thank you for coming along.
Thanks very much, Richard.
And Stefan. Hey, yeah.
Oh, Richard, it's been great to be here. Once in a blue moon, I actually get released and allowed to come to the tank.
It's actually not true at all. Blue moons happen much more often than that.
Well, they have happened twice in the last 2 months, but this is about it until 2014. But, it's been fantastic. Thank you.
And until our next think tank, which I hope is not too far down the track, cheers, everybody. Hey. empty glasses, aren't there?
Hey, Kenny.
Oh, hi, Tom.
Nice day at this park, yeah?
Yes, great weather.
Oh, look, a unicorn.
Unicorn? There are no such things as unicorns, silly.
Yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
Hey, guys, what are you arguing about?
Tom thinks unicorns are real.
They so are.
Let's look this up in the Skeptic's Dictionary.
The what?
How can we do this in this park? There is no computer here.
You guys probably don't know about the Skeptic's Dictionary app. Available now for iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch in the App Store.
Wow, cool.
The app lets you access all of the great Skeptic's Dictionary articles when you're on the go. Here, let me look up unicorns.
Oh, cool. Kenny, prepare to be proven wrong.
It says here, the unicorn is a creature from fables.
Aha!
Actually, I see now that someone just dumped their ice cream cone on that horse's head. Thanks, Skeptic's Dictionary iPhone app.
Richard, I'm exhausted.
Whew, Stefan, what a think tank that was.
What a think tank.
Wow.
My mind was expanding, exploding and contracting again.
Maynard's on the floor. Dr. Rachie and Eran are fighting in the corner. Joe's gone. I can't see her. She's gone to look at the lobsters, I think.
One thing that Dr. Rachie, she mentioned something about challenging the word it in a court case, about what the word it means. That's doing my head in. From now on, every time I hear the word it, I'm trying to wonder what the actual meaning of that word is.
It's difficult. It's hard.
Don't do it to me.
It's a problem.
I'm freaking out. But yeah, look, great show. And were we coming back next week with anything?
Well, I'm off again. Yeah, oh yes.
I'm jet setter.
In a couple. In fact, tomorrow I'm on a plane heading for Singapore. I'll be there a couple of days. Then I'll be in Edinburgh for about a week, where I'll be talking to the local skeptics in Edinburgh. Looking forward to that. And then I'm heading to Manchester for QED.
Oh, Richard.
Why did you come with me, Stefan?
Oh no, you have the most enviable job in the world.
Maynard's under the table. Come back.
Can I come out? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Well, I guess we'll be looking forward to hearing lots of reports from all your journey.
I hope so. Jet-lagged reports. But I'll be sending those in, producing the zone on the fly.
On the fly. On the old iPad.
Well, on the little netbook.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, excellent. Well, I think we should just let you get packing.
I better
check
go
your passport.
home, run downstairs and start packing my bags.
Get some vaccination.
I will.
See you then. See you next time. Bye.
You've been listening to The Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.